So now you've got, this is a DVD. This isn't a book.
That's a DVD.
This is a DVD. Okay, so I can tell the difference between a DVD and a book. So yoga exercises for beginners and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So you've done a DVD as well. Is there anything you haven't done? Singing a rock and roll band?
Well, I did have a go once, but I was living with a guy. I've always been. I've always ended up with musicians, and always with broke musicians. And,
Is there any other type?
Well, one or two. But I did have one of my early boyfriends who was convinced that we would do better. He would do better with a girl in the band,
Yeah.
but. I think one rehearsal was enough to persuade him and the rest of the band that they
But
really
you
weren't
weren't
better off without me. So it was. I was very. I mean, I'm incredibly shy and self-conscious. So it was an awful thing to have to do and to prove that I knew I wasn't good enough and to have to prove it was awful. But
That's interesting. So you've done the DVD. I also know that you do public speaking.
yeah, that's right.
And you talk. So you're shy, but you can still talk. How does that work?
It's funny because I'm at the thing I find most difficult is something like networking.
Yeah.
Like being in a room with people I don't know.
Yeah.
I find it impossible to start conversations. I've read all the books about how to do it. I go and stand in circles and then everyone moves away.
I'm that woman too.
But I mean, once I start, I'm fine. But it's just that, whereas at least when I'm talking, I know where I am, what I'm supposed to do. I have a place in the room, if you know what I mean, rather than having to try to find one.
Yeah, I suppose it's the difference between an actor who, give him a script, he's fine.
Yeah.
But if you throw him out and say, entertain, that's different.
I know a lot of actors say that they're shy, and I always thought, I don't understand that. But when I started speaking, I realised that it is possible to be... shy is a funny word. I don't know that shy is the right word. Sort of self-conscious, I suppose. Yeah. But
I know what you mean, because I can do this. I can sit here and talk to you, but I have trouble with networking meetings. I'm the same. I've done them, but I prefer to network organically like this, where I'm, one-on-one with somebody that's sought me out, or I've sought them out for a reason.
Exactly. I end up I find one person, then just latch onto the
yes, you're not going anywhere.
Follow them around all night.
I know, I'm just the same. So yoga, when did you take up yoga?
I started doing yoga when I, I've always hated exercise, absolutely hated exercise, and I avoided it like the plague. But then, when just before I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I started to think about losing the ability to do certain things, and that started to nag at the back of my mind. Then when I had surgery, suddenly my right shoulder was practically immobilized, and they had the exercises that they give you in hospital, and I started to do them, and I became obsessed with the idea that, apart from the fact that I'd had both of my breasts removed, that I wouldn't have any sort of physical hangovers from having had cancer. Okay. And the idea of having this immobilised arm really, really worried me. And so I bought a book of stretches, and I was doing those. And I mean, it was horrible because it hurts, and you pop and squeak and all sorts of things. But for once, I was motivated, and I kept it up. And then gradually I started adding a few yoga moves, and then I realised that I was actually becoming more flexible than I was when I was in my 30s, and that you actually can not just stay where you are, but you can actually become stronger and more flexible as you get older, and I like that. So
I like that I do too.
I carried on doing yoga, but the reason I made the DVD was that I think I use DVDs a lot, and they tend to be quite aim at quite a mixed level. And I've talked to people who've bought them for themselves and found themselves put off by the fact that some of it seems too hard. And I think people like to think they can do what's in front of them. It can be very discouraging if you feel that you can't, and you can't imagine that you ever will. So I pulled out stuff that is suitable for beginners. I mean, you can do it more strenuously as you get better at it if you want to, and just put it all in one place so that someone who's starting out, and particularly an older person, It doesn't have to feel that they're going to be too challenged. And I also put in a separate section going through I worked with a yoga teacher, and I put in a separate section going through each of the moves very carefully, sort of describing in quite intimate detail how you do it, because I've often found that people fall short in that too, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, well, where are you? You know, where is that hip?
Yes.
Where is that? And you can't see. So I wanted to make people feel comfortable that they were doing it properly.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend that you do a few classes, just, you know, so that someone can actually help.
Get the overall.
Yeah, so
thing.
that you get a feel of, you know,
Yeah.
but some people never will.
No.
And especially older people, I think, feel quite self-conscious in classes. And so I think just doing a lot of this focuses on your spine and your neck and shoulders and so on, just flexibility.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. You can find out more about Domini at her website, doministuart.com, no AU.
That's right.
And look out for her books on Amazon if you don't find them on her website. Thank you, Domini.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for asking me.